Dr. Supriya Shah, a celebrated sitar virtuoso and academician, blends tradition and innovation to captivate audiences across age groups, genres, and nationalities. A senior assistant professor in the Department of Instrumental Music at Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, she is renowned as one of India's most sought after female sitarists. She is a graded artist of All India Radio and has performed at prestigious concerts globally, earning critical acclaim from connoisseurs and music lovers. She has also received several accolades and gold medals for academic excellence. Trained under the tutelage of maestros such as late Pandit Shankar Mishra and Grammy Award winner Padma Bhushan Pandit Vishwa Mohan Bhatt, Dr. Shah has been instrumental in promoting Hindustani classical music through her performance and education. With a Ph.D. on the evolving practices of instrumental music, she has authored a book and several research papers on the subject. She's an inspirational mentor and cultural motivator, shaping the future of Indian classical music through her students in India and abroad. It is with great pleasure that I invite Dr. Supriya Shah to the Raaga Room. Hi, Supriya. Welcome to the Raaga Room. Thank you so much for being here on my show today.
Hi, Deepa. So nice to see you, and I'm so glad you invited me in the Raga Room today.
I wanted to start with your quote, and I was really very impressed when I saw that because there is so much of depth in what you had written. It said, music where pain is the ingredient of pleasure and sorrow transmutes joy. So the profoundness and the complexity and confluence of both these feelings, the joy and the sorrow, right? And leading to a release. I think music is something that gives voice to complex feelings where people can connect with, yeah, this is also what I'm feeling. So do you want to talk about this quote?
Yes, certainly, Deepa. Uh, See, music is very deeply intertwined with emotions, right? And it is a very powerful medium to express oneself emotionally. And this is from the musician's point of view. From the listener's point of view, also, when they listen to a piece of music, they sort of relate to it more when a particular piece of music conveys a certain emotion that resonates with them. So in that sense, I feel that music is very intricately intertwined with one's life experiences on the one hand, and one's deepest emotional responses to those life experiences, right? And then also, in that sense, music can serve as a medium where the catharsis happens and you heal from your experiences, uh, and eventually find that release through those musical notes, and also find a renewed sense of hope and positivity and peace within yourself. And on the other hand, music also depends on the kind of experiences that one has had. So if we go back to, the ancient text of Natya Shastra, in that Bharat has sort of underlined the importance of rasas and bhavas and how they sort of enrich any artistic endeavor and lend meaning to it. And how would you sort of manifest those emotions if you have not gone through that entire gamut of life experiences and had an experience of those emotions? So unless and until you've gone through that process in your life, you can't really put those emotions in your music. And to that extent, music finds its fulfillment and its completeness through these emotions. And also, I feel that in particular, pain and sorrow and these kind of emotions, they are particularly more important to lend a certain appeal, a universal appeal and quality and richness to your music. Because if even if you look at the lives of all the great artists and performers across the globe, you'll find that many of them have had their fair share of struggle in life, their fair share of pain and heartbreak and rejection. And they sort of channelized all these emotions into their creative endeavors, into their creative pursuit. And as a result, we have some masterpieces in front of us today. So I think both sort of depend on each other, and like emotions find a release through music, and music gives an individual musician the opportunity to heal and grow and evolve. On the other hand, music also finds a lot of raw materials in these emotions for exploration and for enrichment. So that is what I think that is what was going on in my mind when I wrote that line.
Actually, it is such a symbiosis, right? Um,
Yeah.
for somebody who has gone through life experiences, like you said, and regardless of if you are a musician or not, but when
Yeah.
music gives vent to these kind of feelings, there is a connection, and that
Yes.
the gravitas of experiencing pain or happiness or joy also, I think, comes
Yes.
from that conflict and resolution. um,
Yes.
you're going through something, something is happening in your head, and right there, when there is something that is validating what you're experiencing, I guess you feel like, okay, this is what it is. I didn't know what I was going through, but this is what it is. But,
Yes.
all of what you
Yes.
just said, I think that requires a lot of maturity, personally, professionally, aesthetically, emotionally. And the more you learn and the more you grow, I guess music also molds and flows in a way that it becomes more mature and um,
Yes.
more refined as we get. I wouldn't necessarily call it an aging process, although it does, but I guess also it depends on the emotional bandwidth of a human being and how open they are to experiences and how open they are to introspecting and therefore imbibing that in their music, right? As you get older. Um,
Yes.
but all at the same time, these things are very alien to somebody who's actually starting off, right? Like a teenager, you started at 13. So none of these things are on the are served on the plate at that time. So how did you start with sitar, and why sitar, and how music?
Yeah. Deepa, uh, I feel a lot of beautiful and significant happenings in my life have been quite serendipitous for me. And it's not as if I was consciously doing something, because when you're that young, you absolutely have no idea, what you are also not aware of who you are, and you are growing as a person. You're very young, and you're just in that process of having new experiences, and just looking at the world and a world around you, and you get impacted by the world around you in so many different ways. That was the case with me also. But and also because I come from a family of it's a very cosmopolitan family that I come from, and it's a non musical family. There's not a single musician in my family other than myself.
Is that
So
right?
in my
Okay.
clan, it was highly unlikely that somebody would learn uh, the Indian classical music, this great, profound knowledge system. Somebody would learn it systematically and then eventually take it up as a profession also. Although my formal training in music started at the age of 13, but I'll take you, further back in the history of, what happened before that, and how I actually, my most initial acquaintance with the sitar, how it happened. So I was a little girl of 9. I was just 9 years old, perhaps in class 3 or 4. And my best friend in school at that time, she persuaded me and somehow convinced me to opt for sitar in the hobby class that was being offered in school at that time. And that hobby class used to happen once a week. And so it was basically my friend who convinced me that I must take up the sitar in the hobby class. She was also playing the sitar, and she said I must also do it. And somehow I just ended up listening to her, and I was in the sitar class. And once I was there, for me, of course, that was a very special moment, because that was my very first acquaintance with this beautiful instrument. And when you're that little and you have a majestic instrument like the sitar in your hand, I mean, that was a very enchanting experience for me. And that's an instrument that has so many strings and frets and this beautiful inlay work, and these beautiful floral wooden carvings on the tabli. All of that was very exciting to me. And so that's when I started to explore the sitar. And of course, the prospect of participating in the annual function and playing in the school orchestra, all that was a very attractive proposition and a very big incentive for me when I was, back then when I was so little. So anyhow, so that's how I got my first sitar. And even though I did not have a chance to learn anything in school, because it was just, we were all very little, and teachers were not really teaching us the intricacies of the notes and the ragas, and they were just teaching us very basic tunes, and we were rehearsing those tunes off and on to present on stage in the orchestra. But at home, I was so intrigued by this new instrument that I had, that every waking minute I would spend exploring this instrument on my own. And even though I had no training, I had no idea of the frets and what notes I could play on which fret, and the techniques and the strokes. I had absolutely no idea of all that. But I was exploring it on my own, and I was trying to figure it all out on my own. And as a result, in a few days, I started to play some tunes on the sitar myself. I did not learn them in school, but I was playing them on my own somehow. So I was playing the Happy Birthday song and the Om Jai Jagdish Aarti on my own. And my mother was silently observing all this, and she could see that I'm extremely eager and I have the zeal to keep playing the sitar. And at that time, when I was so young, my skin used to be very delicate, obviously. So it used to tear, and sometimes it would start bleeding, and I would put bandages and still keep playing. So I think it was then that my mother realized that I have the talent, I have the passion, and if I am given the right opportunity and the right environment to learn, I can blossom into something nice. So that's how actually the credit for my training and for me continuing to learn the sitar, I think the credit goes hugely to my mother and my father also, because he was the one who sort of both my parents, they ensured that I get the right training. My mother made a lot of effort to find all the good gurus that I eventually learned from, and it was her dream that I get to learn in a systematic way from an accomplished guru in the Guru Shishya Parampara. So it was in a big way. And of course, at that time, none of us had imagined that a simple nudge from a friend in childhood would lead me on to this path of profound exploration, which would impact almost every aspect of my life, change the course of my life and my personal and professional journey. So this is how it happened.
Oh, wow. Serendipity, I think, is a wonderful thing. A lot of experiences that happens serendipitously, that
Yeah.
brings hope and it's there to stay. I resonate with that on many occasions myself. And coming from a non-musical family, and for your mom to identify that you had the talent and give you the required tutelage so that you can shine the light on this is quite commendable. You have
Yes.
had you have had the experience of learning under the great stalwarts like Pandit Shankar Mishra ji and Vishwa Mohan Bhatt ji. So, what has been your experiences like as a student, and anything that stands out as experiences that you would like to share?
Well, it's very difficult for me to encapsulate what my gurus have done for me, and the entire talim I got from them. And it was, I feel it was not just the musical talim, but I think they shaped me in a big way. I mean, especially my training. My training started from under the tutelage of Pandit Satish Chandraji. That was when I was 13 years old. And later, of course, I started learning from Pandit Shankar Mishra ji. And uh, all I can say is that, everything that I know, everything that I am musically, uh, anything that I know about the sitar, the technique, the idiom, the grammar of the ragas, the intricacies, the depth, if whatever I today know about our music is thanks to him, because it was with him that I spent many, many years of learning, and I spent a lot of time with him. So, the bond that exists between the guru and the disciple, it's a very deep bond and a relationship that is based on trust and respect. And from the guru side, it's a lot of nurturing, and with a lot of patience and care and precision. The guru sort of makes the disciple, sort of hones the talent, and um, shapes the talent of his or her disciple. And uh, in a way, the disciple also imbibes so much more from the guru. It's not just the musical talim that one gets, but it's also, there were times when he would share his own life experiences with me, and his own, anecdotes from his own life, and his own, the time spent with his father, who was also his guru, and later, his guru, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, my Dada Guruji. So all of those things. And then I had the chance to observe him so much, and to understand his worldview and his approach to music. And after, sort of shapes a block of stone, and carves out a beautiful art object. Similarly, a guru, shapes the raw talent and the potential of a disciple, and carves the talent out into a beautiful vessel of musical expression. And that's what my gurus have done for me. And as far as the talim goes, I remember something that has really stayed with me even today, is that the days I spent with him, especially the learning sessions that I used to have. He was a very patient mentor, and he would. And the great thing about him was that, as far as I'm concerned, I remember that he never came down to my level. I was a beginner. When I went to him, I was a beginner. And he sort of taught me how to, even how to sit and how to hold the instrument, and right from, the left and right hand techniques, everything from the basics. But even as he was doing that, he would never bring the music down to my level. So my training from the very first day started, he would always play the music for me, and he would always teach the music from where he was, at the level of proficiency that he was. So for me, it was, he was sort of pulling me up from where I was, to bring me up to a higher level, to where he was. Of course, I mean, For me at that time, it was, it seemed like an impossible task. But this is how the training progressed. And gradually, I mean, without even me realizing it, somehow, with the passage of time, I gradually imbibed a lot of techniques and the understanding of the ragas and the grammar of music. And that was his very unique teaching style. And that is what has, I feel, it has helped me to date. And I think that is what, that is the way I teach my students now in the university. So on that front also, he had this very non-commercial approach to music and to teaching, and that is very rare nowadays. That it was never after, commercial success, and he was truly committed to the art of music. On the other hand, Pandit Vishwa Mohan Bhatt ji, my association with him is much recent. And from him, I have, again, in him, I see a lot of humility and simplicity. He's a very approachable musician. He's had massive commercial success also as a musician. But I never see that in him. And, whenever I interact with him, it's always a very, he's just a very approachable person. And both my gurus, I feel, are very fortunate and blessed that they have shared their knowledge very generously with me. So even Pandit Vishwa Mohan Bhatt ji, who is such a busy musician, but if he starts to teach me, he will never look at the watch. He will never look at the time. So, I mean, it's been very few sessions with him because he's a busy artist and we are located in different cities also. But the few occasions that I had a chance to actually sit with him and, learn something from him, it used to go on for hours. So, I mean, in that sense, I'm very blessed and fortunate. And the humility of both my gurus is something that has stayed with me, and also the patience and the generosity with which they teach. That is something that has really inspired me and helped me in my own musical journey.
I think once we align to what we see in great human beings, right, we actually learn more than what we are there to learn. And it's, what you were talking about, sculpture, right? So it's like the stone has to be ready to be rendered, to be chipped.
Yeah.
By
Yes.
design or by random. You can't just take a
Yes.
stone that is not ready to be rendered to chip it and make it into what it is going to become. So I think both the sculptor and the stone have to match each other for it to actually take shape and become
Yes.
something. And that
Yes.
space of being in the aura of an accomplished person or people is so profound. And I personally feel very blessed to be around people who have achieved. It's because it didn't come to them easily. They've had their own life struggles. They've had to mitigate it, get through it, pass the challenges, then get to one step higher. A lot of times people give up when things just don't go their way, but then you keep at it, you keep moving on. So it's very reflective, or they emit that kind of a radiation, I think, when you're around such people. So we learn a lot by not really knowing what it is that we are learning. So in that sense, I think Guru Shishya Parampara is a great place to be and to learn and absorb and have
Yes.
all-roundedness, in your personality.
Certainly. Certainly.
And
And the guru also gives you a sense of purpose in so many ways, and gives a safe space for your own self exploration and finding your own individuality, even though you are a reflection of your guru in so many ways, because you have imbibed so much from your guru. And yet, a good guru always gives you the space and the freedom to express yourself uh, in the most authentic manner.
Also talking about Serendipity, the city of Banaras, where, a mystical city that I can never get over the magic of Banaras. And I think even to go there to visit, one has to be truly blessed, or one should answer a calling. So much of paradox, right? Like life, death, joy, sorrow, gravitas, vibrance, new, old, they all coexist so harmoniously. And even when the Ganga flows, there is such serenity in the flow of Ganga. It's not aggressive, it's just very shant. There's just synchronicity
Yeah.
when you see the
Yeah.
flow of river. So to move from Delhi to Banaras and to actually make it your home, was that a calling that you answered, and how?
Yeah. Yes, I think everything, like I said, every beautiful happening in my life has been very serendipitous. And uh, similarly, my move to Banaras, I feel, was divinely ordained. The universe conspired to make it happen. And it was a beautiful invitation for me to embark on my spiritual journey and also sort of find the convergence of my um, personal and artistic endeavors, and in a very spiritually anchored manner. This is what Banaras has done for me. And uh, Deepa, I'm from Delhi, and most of my education happened in Delhi. And as I was growing up, people looked at me as a typical Delhi girl. And even when I moved to Banaras, people had this, because Banaras is a very different, it's the most ancient city in the world. And it has this unique vibe and energy, and uh, it's a very sacred place. And in contrast to that, Delhi is it's a metropolitan city, and obviously the place that you come from, it shapes your personality in a certain way. It's very natural for that to happen. I was this typical young Delhi girl, also studying economics honors. I was in Lady Shri Ram College, and I had a certain kind of peers, around me. And however, uh, even at that time, uh, I think there was something within me that made me feel like a misfit in that surrounding, in that space. So even at that time, there was, I was the kind of books that I was reading. I was into, reading Sophie's World, and I was Tuesdays with Maury, and The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and The Autobiography of a Yogi. These were the books that I was reading, in my college days. And I was never doing the things that all my peers did, all the youngsters usually do. They like to socialize, and they like to hang out in the mall, and they like to go out with friends to watch movies or go out partying late in the night. I was never into all that. It never appealed to me. And there was something, that was, I was mostly, I like to spend time alone. I like to read all these books. And there was something inside me. I think there was this spiritual yearning or a quest, which I don't know. I was not consciously aware of it. But now in hindsight, I think that is who I was. I was going through this inner quest. And also, I was a lot into Sri Aurobindo's philosophy at that time. So, every opportunity that I used to get during my graduation days, I would run to Pondicherry, to the ashram. And I had a huge collection of books written by Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And so this is what I was happening basically in my life at that time. And I guess the universe saw that, and so it sort of facilitated, yeah, my further spiritual quest. And so I got this opportunity, wonderful opportunity later on as I was pursuing my PhD in music. I got the opportunity to work in BHU. So that's how I moved to Banaras. But I think more than a job opportunity, I think it was an opportunity for me to find the culmination of my spiritual journey. And also, this was such a sacred space where, there have been great stalwarts and great legends who have from the field of music. who have made Banaras their karma bhumi and their tapo bhumi. And I feel that this place has those vibrations, and it sort of facilitates it facilitates self introspection and also your creative endeavor. And yeah, so this is what I feel Banaras has given me in the time that I've spent here.
It's
And
very
also it gave
haunting.
me a chance to it opened up because when I came to Banaras, it also gave me a lot of exposure to listen to a lot of different musicians also. And now here I was as a teacher and a mentor in the university. And that brought a lot of brought with it its own set of new experiences and immense opportunities for growing as an individual and as a musician. Yeah, that's what I feel has been the greatest contribution of Banaras in my life and my journey.
As I was hearing you say how it was, being with your peers in Delhi and not being there, mentally present, but then still, like you don't know that there is a shift that is happening. It's very subtle, but it's quite distinct. It reminded me of song. Purandara Dasa is an age-old seer from Karnataka, and he has written many, many, many songs, and they're very simplistic, and it's also very telling. So one of them is, I'll try to translate it to the best of my ability. It says, "Allide namma mane, illi bande sumane," which means like I come from another place. I'm living in a place of illusion. I'm just here for a short time. So you know that there is that I have to be somewhere else. This is not where I belong. I have to be somewhere else. But then also
Yes.
to give vent to that feeling and kind of like see where that would take you. And you did,
Yeah.
and you got here and you did your PhD. And your PhD is in the topic of changing scenario of performance practices in instrumental music in the 20th century. So, any particular reason why you went into this topic, and what were your observations? And I believe that you've also authored a book on this subject. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So see, music, like I said, it's a personal expression of one's own self in a way. And so music is very intricately linked with not just the individual but also the society, because the society comprises individuals. So as the society undergoes a change, the music naturally also undergoes a change. So it's a very dynamic process of a change and also evolution. Being a musician, being a student of music myself, I was, observing all these changes happening all around me, and also because I had studied music, on an academic level, having done my masters in music and then an MPhil and. Eventually, I decided to do a PhD. So, I mean, I did study the history of the evolution of our music, and that's how I came to know that our music since ancient times has gone through these various phases of change and evolution. And as the society was changing, and there were a lot of factors or change agents, so to say, that were responsible for this change to happen in music. So that is how I got interested in knowing more about these aspects. And, music, especially in the 20th century, has undergone a sea change. And there are various factors that were responsible for it. And I feel the biggest one being the invention of the microphone, because with the invention of the microphone and also the advancements that were made in the field of recording music and broadcasting music, that brought about a sea change in the way music was presented. Also, uh, the format of music underwent a massive change, because now there were these small 3-minute recordings that were happening, and basically the musicians were, uh, everything that, because a rag performance is usually, very vast. It's endless. But now you have to sort of now put all of that in a 3-minute recording. So for that, you need to plan your recording, plan your presentation in a certain way. So there was a change in the format. There was also a lot of change in the techniques in the way instruments were played, because now, everything was, the microphone was amplifying everything that you were playing. So that helped to bring out the finer nuances. And so a lot of technical changes happened on a lot of changes on the technical front, in the sense that now the musicians started to experiment with finer techniques and nuances. Similarly, voice culture changed. For the vocalists, the voice culture also changed. So it was no longer this chamber concert, or that darbari music, that was happening, where the musicians had to prepare themselves very differently, in terms of ensuring that their music is audible. And so the voice culture was done differently. The techniques used in playing instruments were very different. And so this was one big catalyst of change in the 20th century. And of course, musicians began to travel a lot more. They were also going abroad to travel. And that brought about the need for, because you now you needed travel friendly instruments. And so there was a lot of experimentation done in instrument making also, to sort of reduce the bulkiness of instruments and make them more travel friendly. So all this was happening. There was a lot of change happening in the way concerts were presented, and also there was a trend more towards having evening concerts and not so much of morning concerts. There are a plethora of changes that one could notice and document. Also, there was more emphasis on having collaborative collaborations with other genres and other musicians. This and a lot of technological gadgets being used in concerts to facilitate better sound. And now, of course, there's so much happening with all the digitization of music, and with all the social media. There's so much access to music, and again, this has led to a lot of different kinds of work being done on the music front. So yeah, it's an ongoing process, and it's been quite a few years since I was awarded the PhD in this subject, and I feel now I have to revisit what I did then. And there's almost a 14-15 year gap since then, and music has undergone so much change even in this time period.
Yes.
So I'm in the process of documenting, observing the changes and documenting the changes that have happened in this time frame. And hopefully I'll be out with another book soon.
Oh, that is so lovely.
Yeah.
Actually, on the same vein of it, I was thinking that in the past few years, especially after post-COVID, there has been like a paradigm shift in how things are being presented, right? Because social media just like mushroom like nobody's business, and even
Yeah.
people's concentration started to really reduce. Like if we would look
Yeah.
at Instagram or any other social media right now, if it is not catching your attention for the first and second,
Yes.
chances are that even before you know, your muscle memory kicks in and your
Yes.
thumb starts to scroll. So in a
True.
culture like this, even though you are somebody who's rooted and who are interested in listening to good music and seeing who something somebody has to offer, but just for the fact that you have no concentration capabilities anymore like it used to be, how is it for musicians to wade through such challenges?
Well, first and foremost, one has to accept it as something which can't be done away with. So, if you accept, you begin to sort of find ways to find ways to capture the attention of the audience and sustain it also. To that end, musicians are doing a lot of different kinds of things these days, and there are a lot of theme-based shows happening also these days. There's a trend for theme-based shows because that gives the audience. It's like telling a story through your music. So there's always a reference to context when you give a theme-based presentation, and it makes it that much more relevant to the audience because now they can immediately find a meaning in what they are listening. So they do not have they and because people don't have the patience, and like you said, attention span is going down, and if they have to struggle with finding meanings in what the musician is trying to convey or communicate through his or her music, then they might even lose attention. Nobody wants to go through that effort of just being patient with and trying to absorb what is being communicated to them through by way of the music. So yeah, I mean there are lots of things happening, and different kinds of tracks being released by musicians, and a lot of they're crossing over even though their music is rag based, but they are trying to find their new creative, making new tunes out of those ragas and making it more, especially in this day and age where everything you just have a half a minute or a 1 minute reel and just people just keep scrolling. So I mean you do have to make your music appealing, but at the same time I feel that everything is. I mean, you do stay connected to your roots, and I think you do come back to where you belong as a society and as a civilization. I think it's very difficult to sort of completely cut yourself off from that, and these things happen in a cycle. So these are cyclical things, in my opinion, and I think. There was a time when people were not at all into they did not have the concept of wellness and spiritual yeah, but now that is the trend, and people do understand the importance of all this. And so I feel that even though it may seem like music is changing, the audience taste is changing, and uh, one has to cater to this new kind of audience preference, but I feel that if you I mean it's just a matter of time. And also I feel there are still a lot of good uh, concerts happening, a lot of good festivals where actually the traditional music is being presented in its authentic form, and in the format that we are so used to listening it in. So I mean, I think uh, there's still hope for our music and for the way it is being presented.
I think we have to find a balance in a constantly changing continuum. Yeah. And
Yes.
everything finds a way to reset itself. So, how do you envision the future of our classical music with the increasing global interest in the art form? It's
I think,
everything is
yeah.
today available, and you know that world is your oyster, kind of.
Yeah, I think that I look at it as a very it's a very positive development because it sort of helps to helps the people across the world to listen to our music, and it also gives a chance to us to see what's happening all around the world. And I think that is in its own way, it provides a lot of inspiration and opportunity for us to grow as musicians. And I also feel that, a very big advantage of social media and technology today is that I see a lot of channels, especially on YouTube, where, very rare recordings of the great masters of the days gone by, they're readily freely available, and everyone can have access to these recordings. So so for the young people, especially the young students of music, and by the way, there are a lot of young people who are doing really well. They are really very seriously pursuing this profound tradition. And I think they're brilliant. Many of them are brilliant. And so there is an opportunity for all these young people also, and for all of us to have access to the rare recordings, rare gems of music uh, from the days gone by. So these great stalwarts. So that is also one big advantage. And as regards the world opening up, and in a way people are sort of the borders are dissolving, in the sense of the cultures. There's a lot of intermingling, and there's a lot of influence of cultures, one culture on the other. I think it's a very good thing, as long as we don't lose our identity. And I don't think that that is happening. I think today more than ever, Indian culture, Indian music, Indian art forms are uh, having an impact on the cultures and the art forms, and in general the people across the world. So I think it's a good sign.
If we were to conclude, and I would like to ask you, for the younger generation, how does one get into this kind of an exploration of the art, having an emotive aspect to it, a technical aspect to it, an aesthetic aspect to it? How can this be introduced to people who are getting into the sphere of music?
Um, I feel that for the young people, my message only is that it's very important to first and foremost learn in a systematic manner. So it's the importance of learning from an accomplished mentor or a guru is still very relevant even today, even though a lot of music is available, very easily accessible to the youngsters. And it's very easy to just, at the click of the mouse, you can just open a video of a great musician and you can just try and learn from that video. But I feel it's still very important to find a space and an opportunity to learn one on one from an accomplished guru. So, first and foremost, learning in a systematic manner is very important. And this learner's approach is a lifelong thing. It really is not something that, especially in music and in our music, there's never a point or a stage that you reach where you feel that, okay, now I know everything. It's just the fact that the more you do, the more there is to do. So, yeah, that's my message for the youngsters. They should have the patience and the dedication to learn. And also, as far as the commercial aspect of it goes, I feel it's very important to stay very honest to yourself, very honest to your music, and not ever fall in the trap of shortcuts, taking shortcuts in life. So that is very important, I think, because if one really gives that kind of, puts in that kind of a sincere effort, then everything else follows. Everything else follows. So what is the purpose with which one embarks on a musical journey is very important. So it should not never be about getting famous or having a big name or making lots of money through your music. It should always be a very pure connection with your music. You should always try, endeavor to have a deep bond with your music. And when that happens, then your music automatically becomes appealing to everybody, and everything else automatically falls in place, and the success follows. So, one has to have the intent in the right direction.
Yeah. Nothing
Yeah.
beats hard work and good intention.
Yes.
Automatically success
Yes.
follows.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for that beautiful message and your time here with me, and a great pleasure talking to you. Look forward to your book number 2 and your
Yes. Thank you.
music, and hopefully your travel to the United States soon.
Yes, I look forward to that. And lovely meeting you today, Deepa.
Same here. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming to the
Thank
live.
you, Deepa.
Bye.